Our friend seems to be waiting for us. And we're just a little bit closer to the mountain. Out of the desert. Things are a little bit darker now. It's still warm. Still playful. It's worth your while to indulge your childish impulses. Do things like slide through all the arches. And keep in mind that there's things hidden. It's fun with a friend here too. Zigzagging between each other, crossing your trails. Don't cross the streams, man. You'll notice that these big things that were being manufactured or whatever in that other thing in the previous room all contain these little creatures. And they've fallen apart and now you're able to release them. I've had people who were complete non-gamers who'd never played a game in their life play this game. And once they figured out the controls, which are very simple, they would always have a little trouble with the camera, but they would manage. And they would all want to keep playing because it was so penalty-free. It is truly about exploring and learning a story and just enjoying the magic of a place. And you can see here was the major center of their city. There were many people. And the towers were high. And it's there, that pipe, where I got the glyph. That my new friend and I learned how to go really high together. By singing and keeping each other's scarves charged up. Both me and my new friend stopped here for a good few minutes to observe just what we were looking at. And then he went, and I went, and we jumped off, and raced and zigzagged through here together. These guys above us, above me, will play along too. It's in this section that there are parts that you can't get in one run, because you have to go in different directions, or you might not know of a path the first time. But you'll notice that there's quite a few of them to collect. The length of my scarf. The lighting in this game is gorgeous. The music is amazing. Now, if that doesn't belong in a museum, I don't know what does. Doesn't matter where you're from, which god you pray to, what country you live in. What your life is contained, this right here is something that's beautiful. It does harm to no one. It makes us feel somehow special. And a little bit sad because we're starting to understand this story. And the feeling of loss and the recovery of old and perhaps unpleasant memories that are found in this beautiful place. This always gives us room for reflection and time to pause and perhaps think of the underlying sadness that this beauty has happened to settle upon. And I think that's part of the story too. And then, every time you start to feel a little too sad, the game says, okay, enough of that feeling bad about yourself and the world around you. Have a little fun. Enjoy the sparkle of sand and sun. Strange living things that just want to play. They're like air dolphins, carpet dolphins. And then here the tone changes. And here I looked around desperately for my friend, because they had fallen somewhere over behind one of those pillars. And he was over there, and I saw him come down looking the other way, and he went like that, and I went like that, and he turned around and it was like, yeah, okay, yay. And it was just neat that this just simple moment had brought us together, and like, oh no, where's this person that I've never met who suddenly means something to me, you know? Oh. And it looks like perhaps people began to fight over the energy and the resources. And in doing so, we're destroying the very thing they were fighting over. And this, perhaps, is the ruination that is left behind. I love how that sets the tone for what you're about to see. How the life energy had been strained too far. What was left was not enough. So the beings fought and destroyed over it, creating terrible machines. And everything fell to ruin, death. Perhaps we ourselves, humanity, Earthlings, the beings that dig and scratch at our own planet, the beings that scar the very living thing that keeps us alive. Perhaps we might head to the same fate. But even in the darkest moments, there can be found places of light, moments of hope. I noticed at the time that the person I traveled with walked no faster than I did, was in no more of a hurry to get to the end of whatever this was than I was, and neither of us had said anything about walking a certain pace because we couldn't speak, except to chirp. And who knew what we were trying to say? Somehow the emotion of it always came across. And no matter where we were, the urge to play was always very close at hand and helped keep away the darkness, like the shafts of sunlight that came from above. And the sense of discovery, the sense of purpose was shared. And the same exuberance was shared when we found things that gave us longer scars. And we walked over this hill, somehow sensing that there was something special about to happen. And there was indeed. At that point, my friend ran around me in a quick circle of excitement, and his scarf tangled up in my legs, and my character fell over face first into the sand. Got up and shook its cape off. And he chirped like, sorry. And I was just like, no, that's funny, At least that's the conversation that happened in my head. We both slid down and took off through here, played in the shafts of sunlight, and enjoyed the energy that these fronds of seaweed, I guess, clothweed, gave us. Played around and listened to the cloth dolphins chirp and warble. You never feel a sense of really wanting to hurry in this game. Mostly. In every room you enter, and every space you encounter for the first time, always feels like a grand entrance. The next room in the most magnificent museum you've ever seen. I love how the jellyfish things giggle when you when you fly through them, like it tickles. And falling to the bottom here doesn't kill you, it doesn't hurt you at all. It's just dark and there's sand. But you keep going further down, and things get more dark and more silent. But this is the same sort of thing you saw in the tower outside. But here, somehow it doesn't seem so worn out. It doesn't seem so asleep. glimmer of life in this one still, but its body is broken. Ah, little carpet friend. Maybe he's friendly and wants to show us the way. What are these? They don't look broken. And now we see the dark ways that these poor creatures were put to, and the dark purpose that they were given, perhaps. They won't kill you, but if they see you, they will eat the energy in your scarf, and it will get shorter. And somehow, without telling you, without speaking, the game has told you that it's important that you gather as many pieces of your scarf as you can, because it means something more than just a scarf. It trails behind you and blows in the wind like your past. Changes its shape and its appearance depending on how those winds of memories, depends on how they blow, I guess, which direction they go in, how you perceive them. Maybe I'm reading too much into a scarf, who knows? Yes, here we see them using the energy to create these things. To build their machines of destruction. Those things are not friendly. And they definitely don't make you feel comfortable. But even here, without gore, without blood, without actual any genuine, you're dead, game over danger, this game has made you feel a sense of tension and dread, a sense of being powerless and being watched, a sense of understanding what your adversaries or antagonists are after. Especially here. Thankfully, you land in the safety of the warm gold light. Reminds you of the desert and the place you began. And it was here that I met a different traveler on a different journey, just standing there at the bottom of this ramp. He was a red being like I was at the time. I had only a couple of bands on my, it was only my second time through, so I only had a couple of bands of pattern on my robe, and a scarf about half the length of this. And he stood there with a bit more pattern on his robe and the same length scarf, and he led me over here. And it was just a couple pieces of cloth sticking out of the sand. But if I can remember how to do it, what's the wrong button? Yes, that's that button. Well, anyway, there's a way you can sit down, I think. I just can't remember how to do it. Anyway, he sat down. And if I could figure out how to do it, I'd do it too, but I can't. I sat down beside him, and I was like, okay. So I was like, oh, that's neat, And then I stood up again, and he no, came after me, wrapped around, and came back, and sat down. I sat down next to him. We waited, and we waited. And I'd understood that he'd communicated to me that I needed to wait. And after a little while, I got a trophy for meditating with a companion. But he had managed to communicate that with me just by his presence and the fact that he was there. And he was just some random person. And he didn't follow me into the next level. But he'd taken about amongst himself as a player to just wait in this beautiful place until someone came down. And to do that with them. And I thought it was interesting that a stranger, in essence, would take my hand and say, hey, slow down, man. Meditate over here for a second. Because I'm pretty sure that's the only video game I've ever had that happen in. Usually it's like, hey, you die. Or, hey, you, look how cool my stuff is. Now it seems you're a little bit less of a student and more of a confidant. Someone who shares a secret. Now you know. In the Great Wars, many died. Everyone died. And the cities were forgotten, and the sands covered them over. Even the people were forgotten, and with the markers of their graves and the bones of their civilizations remain. And their souls are long past and are stars in the sky. Sometimes those stars fall, and one is reborn.